volunteers. You get the volunteers to do all of it.
Yeah.
And that's something if just think about emphasizing,
Yeah.
just because.
Yeah.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'd like to call today's Judicial and Public Safety Committee meeting to order. It is Thursday, October 16th, 2025. May I please have roll call?
Grape. Gums. Linder.
Linder here.
Pepe.
Pepe here.
Williams.
Here.
Leonard. Molina.
Molina present.
Roth.
Seer.
Okay, we have quorum. We have no requests for remote attendance. May I have consent for approval of minutes of September 11th, 2025? Opposition? Minutes are approved. At this time, I'd like to suspend the rules and move up new business. We do have a couple of issues. Chief Judge Villa would like to address the committee along with a few other members. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Chief Judge Villa, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, everybody. I appreciate this opportunity. I don't usually ask to go first in line, but I have to be in two places at one time for a Supreme Court Judicial College thing in Lombard. So thank you for the courtesy of letting me at least speak first. The reason for speaking is we, in response to the budget considerations that we've had to all engage in, we thought, and I mean, we, the people under judiciary in particular, along with State's Attorney, Public Defender, Clerk's Office, we thought our home committee, the JPS committee, who we've worked with, and I've only worked with you for a year and a half, but you work with our agencies hand in hand to support us, just need to have some awareness of what we're actually doing and what we're talking about. The budget concerns that we have now, I understand, are going to be repeated next year, and they're going to be even worse next year. So as someone myself who does not operate in the present, I try to operate way down the line. I'm trying to envision what I will do in year two of these budget concerns and then leave because I won't be chief judge in December of next year. And that means I have to think of the consequences as we think of them of what choices we make. And the reason why I wanted, at least for judiciary in particular, to speak to you is that we're partners in this. You vote for an allocation. You vote based on what you think the public wants, and you have absolutely no say on how we either provide or reduce our services. That's for us to do, but we're partners in it because we want to achieve the same goal, and that is, in this committee, judicial public safety, and that's what the public wants. And I truly believe, after just a few highly researched small conversations with friends, that they really don't understand what budget cuts mean on our side of the ledger, so to speak. I just thought that since we're partners in this, that this committee should at least hear from us what we're looking at as we arrange the deck chairs on the Titanic here. They range the gambit. We did not submit an amended budget, and it wasn't because we're recalcitrant. That's not what we did. It's just, it's incredibly hard to provide services and bid against yourselves in advance. You needed to tell us what kind of money you were going to allocate, because no matter what we sent you, you were going to decide whether it was going to be X or not. There wasn't going to be a discussion about that. So in our case, we have one line item that has really caused a lot of consternation and made it impossible for us to really concretely provide some suggestion of what cuts we were. And that is, we've talked about it before. And that's our one line item for interpreter reimbursement. I don't want to beat a dead horse on this, but judiciary receives 100% reimbursement for whatever we spend on interpreters. And for that money that's allocated for interpreters we don't spend, we return. If you just take our general numbers of our $5.2 million budget that we submitted, that includes the $900,000 line. When we were presented with an allocation that's $1.1 million short of that budget presented, that reflects in large part that $900,000 not being credited towards us. I don't really care what the accounting principles are. I'm not interested in those, and quite frankly, I probably don't understand them. But it just to let you know that the way it looks to us is, if that $900,000 is now supposed to come out of the $4.1 million, That's actually like a $3.2 million budget. And so that viewpoint for this year and next year, if it's to be repeated, results in some scenarios that I thought you should be aware of. One is from certain contractuals that we have, we might be treating the members of the public who come in as jurors more like serfs than concerned citizens that present to us. I'm not interested in telling jurors that, thank you for your civic duty, which we compel you to do by summons. And if you don't show up here, we can issue a warrant for your arrest and hold you in contempt. And then, oh, by the way, we're going to pay you $10 a day. That's what they get if you haven't served on jury duty. And then we're not going to feed you for 6 days. Bring your lunch, or go ahead and leave and make sure that you get back on time. Jurors leave, they don't come back. Jurors can get in car accidents. Jurors can violate their oath to not communicate and read the newspaper and look on their phones and all those things, and it disrupts the process. The clerk's office, who works with us in conjunction and is really under the chief judge's office in some respects because they hold all our documents. They're looking at not providing any window service or telephone service to any citizen who wants to know about their case. If you can't use a computer, you don't get to find out about your case or your case date. And without being able to check those dates and call and find out when your future dates are, our sheriff's department is going to be working on a lot more failure to appear warrants and arresting a lot more people. Just a natural consequence. If the clerk's office ends up not being able to provide judiciary with clerks in the courtroom every day, those courtrooms won't be able to operate. By law, when I sit down in a courtroom as a judge, I convene the court that day. That's what happens. It's not the court until the judge convenes the court call that day. And that can't operate without a clerk. Nothing can happen legally without a clerk. So if that happens, you have one of our colleagues here, Ms. Conant, who, because she's very good at her job, regularly files speedy trial demands for every single defendant in a case, no matter whether it's domestic violence or murder or whatever it is. That's just good lawyering for their clients. Without clerks, if that happens, 1 or 2 in a felony or misdemeanor courtroom, we will find ourselves in positions where the state's attorney is unable to prosecute those cases if the defendant holds tight to their speedy trial demand and we can't advance their case because we don't have court calls available. As far as employment goes, not only are we dealing with our budget cuts, but some of us, me in particular, are simultaneously working on collective bargaining agreements with an individual and his team who have extremely unrealistic expectations for how their life goes forward. The only way to satisfy both needs, the demands for high increases on this collective bargaining agreement and the county board's reduction in allocation, is to eliminate jobs. It's the only way to do it this year and next year. 15 to 20 could go from court services, pretrial services, and the JJC. And the consequence for that is that we have statutory minimum requirements to operate, and they relate to the fact that we have juveniles in custody. We have an 8-to-1 ratio. You'll hear a little bit of that from Ms. Aust. And if we required, and if we fall below the 8-to-1 ratio, the whole building shuts down. Everybody's furloughed because we're out of compliance. We could operate without that parameter. But if you haven't followed any of the news about lawsuits against juvenile justice centers in the state of Illinois and elsewhere, there's a group of plaintiffs' lawyers who are now soliciting people who have had bad experiences in JJCs around the state, closed or open, hoping to add them to a class action lawsuit. And the simplest way to survive a motion to dismiss is to allege that the defendant organization is out of compliance with the statutory requirements. They're going to stay in. You'll lose that lawsuit. I won't lose that lawsuit. I won't be the chief judge at that time, but you will be the county that pays for that. These are all things that I just want you to know we're not doing out of being vengeful or angry. These are not budgets that, you know, that matter to us in the sense of like we run a business or we're, you know, worried about our new car that we're buying. These are just services that we provide. And if the public really doesn't want these services, they would have to tell you, but they don't get that opportunity. They're not even asked. Here's a list of all the things we're going to close. Do you want these? They don't even know. And then they're going to take it on the chin when we all do it. And this is just from judiciary. And I forecast it for next year as well. On our side, the simplest fix for at least this year and possibly next is the proper allocation of our interpreter reimbursement line item, which we're going to bring a resolution to ask the board as a whole to do that and educate them all on it. Because we feel, and it's not grandstanding or an attempt to be angry here. It's just when we're looking at our job, again, rearranging these deck chairs, I know I'm fixated on this line item, but the $900,000 that we're asking to be allocated is a reimbursement amount that we don't benefit from. I don't know if you know that. That money doesn't come back to the judiciary. It's not allocated, certainly not allocated to us. We have no benefit from it. The general fund benefits from that money. We also don't have to ask for reimbursement. If you wanted to see how effective that reimbursement is, we just won't ask. Not because we're threatening you. I'm just saying that's how that money works. It's the county's money that comes, and yet we have no benefit for it. The other option for our budget side is just to remove that line item altogether. And then do what I told Mr. Leonard I would never do because I think it's ridiculous and makes us all look like fools. Come back in here every 3 weeks asking you for $50,000 to pay for interpreters that you have to pay. It's not even a discussion we're going to have. You're going to pay it. It's mandated. If you don't, you'll lose. And there's a ton of advocacy groups out there that would do the work for us. So I think that's all performative to the extent that people think it's a battle between the judiciary, court services, public defender, and the board. It's not. You just are our partners in this. And I think it's bad form on our part to not discuss in the open what we're thinking about doing and how it will happen, because you shouldn't be surprised. I don't know if we're going to have to do it on our side. If we're credited the reimbursements, we work in a completely different way. We have things we can cut, juror expenses, maybe a bailiff, something along those lines. There will be cuts made. It's just there's no way for us to get to the $1.1 million you're looking for without actions that are either extreme, in my opinion, unnecessary in the first year when we have a 2 to 3 year problem, or otherwise are just dumb management of our own money. So I have several people here who are going to, I think, talk to you on that topic. We got together and decided that this would be an important thing for you to hear from us all. If you have any questions, I'll stick around, obviously, through this part. I think it was gracious of you to allow me to go first and to hear us out on this, so I thank you. If you wouldn't mind, Ms. Aust, if you would hear from Ms. Aust at this point in time, I think she can help you because she's also in that position where, and I won't speak for her, but her reimbursements are in the $7 to $8 million a year. And the consequences of her budget cuts result in a loss of that money in the futures. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Judge. So the chief is right. Our reimbursements are over $7 million a year that we receive from the state of Illinois to help support probation and juvenile detention. If we have to cut that 1.2 million off of the expenses without any consideration for the revenue that brings in, we're looking at cutting between 20 to 25 staff. We're largely union. That means we have to fire the last ones who were hired. We'll go by the seniority list. The majority of those people are in juvenile detention. If we lay off a considerable number of people in juvenile detention, the chief is right. There have been many lawsuits around the state, specifically centered around the fact that county boards are not supporting the staffing needs of juvenile detention. Knox County was just recently lost a major motion because the judge in that case decided to certify them for a class action, which now opens them to civil liability for each kid. We've been trying really hard to avoid that. I can't, anyways, it's in the county code that the counties have to provide for detention of certain juveniles. And I think about that case a few years ago. You had 3 kids on the west side of Chicago who carjacked somebody, drove that car out here, exited on Orchard Avenue or Orchard Street down in Aurora, shot a woman in the back at that Dunkin' Donuts, and she's paralyzed. We're not letting those kids go. Like, we can say, oh, we're going to close detention or do whatever, but we're not letting those kids go. The reality is you've got to do something with them. And so the issue becomes, what is the most cost-effective way to do that incurs the least amount of liability for the county? And so truly, like, that is the discussion that I need to have with you. What do you think juvenile detention should look like? We can try to sub it out to other counties. Maybe we just hold a certain number of kids and then I turn them away once we reach, 10 or 12. I don't know what that looks like, but we need to start having those conversations so we can be on the same page, because either way, there's liability we're going to incur. And with that, I'll toss it to Rochelle.
Good morning. As a good fiscal partner, I have examined my budget and I have tried to make the adjustments that you have mandated. We've discussed here many, many times that we are not in the business of buying or selling goods. We provide a service. And that is based on work that is given to us. It comes in the form of unfunded mandates and case appointments that have not decreased. You raised our salaries because we could not hire attorneys. We were down a number of attorneys and we made it work because we knew that there was an end in sight, not because it was sustainable, not because we could continue to do it forever, but because we knew that increased salaries would bring attorneys in. And it did, it worked. But that is not the case here. There is not an end in sight. The adjustments that you have mandated will cut people, which will cut services that we provide, and there is no end in sight. In looking at my budget, the number that I would have to cut or lay off or eliminate is 7 attorney positions. That is nearly my whole misdemeanor division. That means that there would be 3 courtrooms that had no staff from our office. So what is the impact of that? It means that I would have to double caseloads for attorneys that are left if they decide to stay, beyond what the American Bar Association has set down as viable standards for caseloads. When we increase caseloads, what comes along with that is the increased risk of ineffective assistance of counsel and increased litigation that goes along with those claims. If attorneys are not prepared and cannot effectively move their cases, clients will not get their right to a speedy trial, which is a constitutional right. The system will not move forward. I understand what you have asked for us to do, and to make cuts in services, which is all I have the ability to do, I will have to eliminate attorneys from courtrooms. This could potentially mean that we are unable to staff specialty courts, which means something that King County is very proud of is the number of specialty courts that we have. They cannot go forward unless there is a public defender to staff those courtrooms. It means that we may not be able to accept cases. If we do not accept cases because we are at our limit, that does not mean that people go without an attorney. What it means is that it becomes someone else's issue. It becomes the chief judge's office's issue to appoint attorneys to the people because they have a constitutional right to an attorney. As the judge said, we are partners in this. And as partners, I wanted to come forward and tell you what I would have to look at in cutting services and how that impacts the system as a whole. Thank you.
Clerk Barrero, are you on?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm at the conference that the chief judge will be heading to. I'm outside, so I'm sorry, I apologize. But I just wanted to discuss the cuts that are asked of us at the circuit clerk's office. The amount that we have to cut equals 21 clerks. Per a union contract, layoff procedures, new hires are impacted first because of the seniority distribution. Layoffs and impact the clerk staffing the courts first. In order to meet our approved 2024 expenditure amount that the board passed, I had to move some positions into some other funds that I have, which is not sustainable. We had this labor contract due on 12/1. We will only be able to operate with mandated services. All current and available clerks will be needed to man the 32 courtrooms. But people still get sick. People can't make it in, have vacation days, etc. So what we're looking at, or what the county is looking at, because of this decision to cut our budgets for 2026, is we will not be able to provide customer service. And what that means is we will not be able to have clerks at the counters, in the main office, and also in all the satellite offices. The clerks will not be able to answer phones. Many people call our office first because they don't know where their courtroom is. They don't know their case number, etc. So we have a lot of employees, a lot of clerks that also answer phones. They will not be able to do that. So in essence, all the payments that come into our office and through our office and get distributed throughout the county will only be able to be made by mail or online. We will not be able to staff the counters to accept those payments. This is what I don't think the county board understands, is that we perform customer service 75%, 85% of our time. If we don't have clerks in the courtrooms, then, as the judge said, it delays the courts. It delays the state's attorney. It delays the public defender. And that's actually all I have. And there's an airplane flying over me, so I apologize. I believe the sheriff's office is next.
Yes, thank you. On behalf of Sheriff Ron Hain, I will speak and be very brief. Also, he has spoken on behalf of this to at length. When we are asked to slash our budget, the sheriff, it's just not slashing numbers. He's been very, very vocal about this. It's about lives and safety at risk. We have 6 unions, and we are asked, and he's been acting in good faith. It cuts patrol, it cuts jail operations and emergency responses. It creates liability, as we've all discussed. Delayed responses and response times can create a real negligent claim. Inadequate inmate care with operations opens the door to civil rights and civil rights lawsuits. Forced staff reductions triggers union grievances and staff violations. As he suggested and even talked about, every dollar cut from public safety today becomes a potential lawsuit, which we continuously fight for to say this cannot occur. We fight for court security, as we've said. If we stop doing this, if the circuit clerk cannot provide this, the state's attorney's office, public defender's office, the court security cannot function otherwise. They cannot staff and continue on with court services. 100%. Our jail population decreases, in which our courts and corrections cannot function either. Again, law enforcement too, public safety, when we're out on the streets, liability, community safety is number one. The sheriff has specifically stated that time and time again too. So when we're working on that, potential lawsuits, this is 100% what he stated again and again. Loss of community trust specifically. And what are we working with too? We are acting in good faith and working towards it. And each time we're pushing through, we're asked more and more to slash. And we're working with 6 unions. At what point is it going to be too much? So with that too, I'm going to be short and brief. pass it over to State's Attorney Mosser.
Thank you. At this point, the board is requiring that the SAO cut over $3 million from our general fund budget, which is well over the 10% that has been stated that they were going to have us cut. This includes 1.9 million from my general fund, and now I have to cut another 1.3 million that was not given to us in the riverboat. As I stated at 2 prior meetings, we were asked by this board and finance to move people into the riverboat funding. We followed that advice only to be denied the funds disingenuously promised. This would result in cutting about 40 employees from my office. Much like my judicial partners, I only provide services. I do not have other funds that could be cut. What that means is that this board is cutting investigating and prosecuting child pornography cases. This board has previously seen the need for this and approved funding the investigators and prosecutors. Remember that a county has been sued for not investigating and prosecuting these cases. You are increasing our liability. What this also means is that this board would like victims of crime to navigate the criminal justice system without having trained advocates helping them get orders of protection and going to court with them. What this means is that this board would like to take away the much deserved equity raises that the entire SAO received with almost unanimous approval that stopped our high attrition rates, much like what the public defender already spoke about. This board is telling the employees of Kane County that they do not deserve to be paid a wage that is commensurate to other smaller counties. Please also remember that all of our budgets had to increase because of unfunded mandates like the Safety Act and the Pretrial Fairness Act. That is something that we had no control over. We also do not control crime. If you look at my end of the year report, you will see that we continue to see a rise in cases like child pornography, domestic violence, and DUI cases. We have to, by law, prosecute these cases. There's so much more that this board is doing to cut vital services towards public safety that I and my judicial partners have said ad nauseum before, and I will not repeat now. But what is problematic is that this board is attempting to put out the image that they're being fiscally responsible by doing these sweeping budget cuts while ignoring that they are unnecessarily accumulating money in the public treasury, which is against public policy and law. And a levy or tax rate which results in such an unnecessary accumulation is illegal. In an email in September from Finance, I was advised that our revenue is in excess of the 90-day reserves was $21 million. Now that could be anywhere between 16 million now to 21 million. That is the very definition of an unnecessary accumulation of money. We in judicial and public safety are performing our statutory duties every day, keeping this community safe. By this board, who are our judicial partners in all of this, in this mission, not using the excess money to properly fund JPS, you are not only cutting services that keep our community safe, but you're also illegally keeping, and I quote from the board meeting on Tuesday, a rainy day or emergency fund. We are urging this board to come and meet with us and to honestly talk about ways in which we not only can work with you to perform cuts that we can do, but also do so in a way that keeps public safety at the forefront of what we're doing. And now I would turn this back over to our chief judge for any concluding remarks.
Thank you, Ms. Musser.
Chief Judge, before you go on,
Yes.
I know Coroner Silva was on, and I
Oh.
wanted to give everybody the opportunity to speak regarding their
Certainly.
budget implications. I know a few of you had gotten together, but I think she was having trouble logging on. So I'm going to go ahead and allow KaneCom and our emergency management as well, if you had anything to say about your budget implications. I know you weren't prepared to have any remarks, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to do that now if you so wished. Otherwise, you're welcome to at our next meeting as well.
Thank you. I will just add, yes, I wasn't prepared to speak about this morning. However, I do have some concerns as we discuss cuts, and the sheriff's office specifically. Some of that work is handled by my team after hours. And when we talk about the unions and the work that they do during the day, if there were to be staff reduction, that work could potentially shift to us, which I have major concerns about. That would impact our staffing. We would have to increase our staffing beyond the positions that we are already trying to fill. So understanding, although we are special revenue, the money that we receive from the county is for the services that we provide. when we are talking about cutting services at the sheriff's office and administrative duties that they perform, that money may be seen now through CANCOM as an increase for our portion of the county work, because our staffing will need to increase. So just an understanding of how that will impact us, although we are special revenue.
Well, I can say, as I believe we're the smallest department in this committee, so small budget, I think I have a 12% cut. So it's a drop in the bucket for the county. So while we're cut back to the bare minimum that we can operate with, it's not sustainable going forward. We had to cut our new member academy for next year, which again, isn't a ton of money in the broad scheme of things, but this is probably not sustainable going forward, but we'll survive this year. I don't have anything to say other than that.
Thank you. I know Coroner Silva was having trouble accessing the Zoom link. So Chief Judge, go ahead and say your closing remarks and we'll give her some time later.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. And to the members of the committee, this is nothing new to you. You're all professionals, you're all adults, you know exactly what we do and that we provide services. And to think that reducing budget isn't going to result in cuts to services is, it's obvious, right? I mean, that is the consequence, and you all know that. I just thought, and I think my partners all here agreed when we talked, that we needed to bring out into the open what we were actually talking about doing, and not do it from the comfort of our chambers or our offices, and not let the public understand, or those that work with us understand, what exactly is on the table. And I started by saying that we're well aware that this is forecasted to occur again next year. So it can't be a short-term plan. It has to be a longer-term plan. And maybe the county board could have slow rolled some of these cuts over a 2 or 3 year period of time, but they decided not to. And it's entirely the board's right to do so. I just don't want anyone on this committee, or who's listening to this, or who listens to it later, to think that we're here complaining. We know you're doing the work. We know everybody who is on this board takes the job seriously and wants to do the best for Kane County. There's nothing intended to be insulting to anyone on the county board in that regard. It just seemed that we were not being good partners with you if we didn't explain to you out in the open in the public, in advance of any action we take, what that's going to look like. And if you double what we tell you about today, that's what it'll look like next year when we're sat here in October, November discussing budgets again. So again, thank you all very much. I don't know if this was helpful to anyone. Maybe it was just helpful and cathartic for all of us to say it out loud. But again, thank you, Ms. Molina. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Judge. Okay, we're going to carry on with our agenda. Dr. Silva is on. I'm going to give her a moment to kind of catch up. So when it's her turn, we'll give her the opportunity to speak. Dr. Silva? Okay. Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning,
I'm sorry.
Chair.
I'm not sure if you were able to listen in on any of the beginning of the meeting, but everyone was discussing their budget implications with the proposed 2026 budget. If you had any comments on that right now, we'll go ahead and listen to them. Otherwise, we'll wait until it's your turn on the agenda.
Yes. So, I understand the situation, the budget situation that we're in. I think that's a problem that's being felt across the board, not only in our municipality, or in Kane County, but in other municipalities. And there are some real budget implications there to my office. I was not prepared to speak on that, but I can tell you that we are very short-staffed, and we are at a situation where we're kind of gritting our teeth when somebody calls in sick. We have somebody that is on workers' comp leave. So when I say I'm working with a very, very limited staff, I can't work with it. I cannot be down another person. We're at the point, you'll see when I do my presentation, and I'll be brief then, but we're at the point where management has to take cases on. And, this is the only department where you see that management actually has to go in and do the work of the deputies. So I'm very concerned for my staff. Turnover is always a problem, but mostly I'm concerned for Kane County, because the implication of my not having enough money to run my office, you can imagine. I don't have to be graphic, but these are situations where we have to speedily act and make tough decisions, all while keeping in mind that people's emotional and mental health may not be, or definitely isn't, at a point where many times rational decisions can be made. And when we expose people to longer wait times, to not having the resources to answer their questions or return their calls right away in such a life and death situation, in this case, death, you can imagine the implications that has in the home. And you know, we look at ACEs, adverse childhood event scores. We know that a lot of the homes that we go to have children in them, and so I have to be able to run my office, because without doing that, the implications of what can happen are big. We're the basis of a civilization, right? And so my main concerns are for the families, but definitely for my staff, who is overworked, has families of their own, and has personal situations where they have to take care of their own lives, and then they have to come to work and deal with these very difficult situations. The more I am able to do, the more that we'll be able to provide data and work with you all to do what we can to help the overdose crisis. Suicide ideation is a crisis. You know, we aren't seeing as many homicides, thankfully, in Kane County, but we do have other factors that we have to look at in order to reduce preventable death. So I'd like to commend my staff, because they have really, really worked very hard in order to cover. But it comes to the point where, with such a skeleton crew, if, like I said, if somebody is sick, if something happens, a life situation happens with one of them, we're in very, very deep trouble. So we're doing the best we can. You know, we're cutting as much as we can. But the one thing that I feel I can't do more cuts in is staff. And so this prevents me from moving forward. There are lots of things that can be done, and we've spoken about that recently. Ever since I started my position as coroner, about ways that we can save money for the future. So I believe that with budget cuts right now, my wings are clipped in order to use my experience and what I know and what I'm learning and what my staff tells me, in ways that we can reduce some of those expenses. But sometimes we have to invest before we can get our returns for our money in the long run. So that said, I do understand the situation that everyone is in there. I realize the money is not there in many cases, but definitely the coroner's office is somewhere where we don't want to cut any corners. We should have been advocating for this office for many years, and there should have been increases in our budget. And I just feel that right now, you know, hindsight is 2020. It's easy for me to come in and say, well, we should have done this, we should have done that. And I understand that that's going to happen in the future, rightly so. But regardless of that, I feel that, you know, we should have been incrementing a little bit here and there in the coroner's office. And we're at a point where we've been strapping ourselves so much that, you know, we're dangerously close to not being able to fill some of these work hours. So if nothing happened, that's great, wonderful. We do save some money, but we have to be ready to go 24/7, because we have no way of predicting when we're going to be needed, just like we have no way of predicting when a baby is being born. So I was not prepared to talk, but again, I cannot underscore enough how important it is that we fund our office, especially for staffing needs. We can cut paper clips, we can cut, you know, the office supplies, maybe even a little bit of gas here and there. But when it comes to staffing needs, we need to be able to provide that, because we're the basis of civilization. So thank you for your understanding and your time.
Thank you, Coroner Silva. Okay, moving on to our agenda. We have no one signed up for public comment. Our monthly financial reports are on file. Did anybody have any questions or comments regarding the monthly financial reports? Okay, Merit Commission. I don't see anyone here from the Merit Commission, so we will move on to number 8, KingCom.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to add a little bit to the statement that I made earlier, because I don't think we talk a lot about this in terms of some of the administrative work that my office does. in addition to answering 911 calls after hours, starting at 5 p.m., 4:30, 7 p.m. We handle the warrant confirmations for the sheriff's office. So when agencies are confirming warrants, we handle that because our record staff is not 24/7. We also enter and modify orders of protection. So if there's orders of protection that come in after hours, that falls to my afternoon shift. We make modifications when they're out serving these orders of protection, in addition to entering new ones. And then sex offender modifications. So, when a sex offender needs to be modified after hours, that falls on our team as well. So just an awareness that we're doing this at night and on the weekends, and we're talking about staffing. And, I know probably all of our staffs listen to these critical meetings and have concerns about how that impacts the job that they do daily. I just want to make sure that that this board is aware of the work that our office does that we don't typically talk about. With that, our monthly reports are on file. As you can see, our call for service activity has increased over last year. Our phone calls remain consistent, but we are busy. Additionally, we have a number of projects that are coming due now that we're in the process of implementing. We're fortunate that they're funded projects, but it's going to be a very busy couple months for our staff as we implement what we've worked on. We received a grant to implement our emergency dispatch protocols into our CAD system, and we've received a grant to establish CAD to CAD, which is data sharing with a neighboring 911 center. We currently have CAD to CAD with 2 other neighboring centers, and now we're excited to establish this as well. One more point, as we talk about funding, I will be in Springfield next week to work with other public safety partners and 911 centers to talk about House Bill 4066 and Senate Bill 2670, which increases 911 surcharge from $150 to $250. So if we are able to accomplish this increase, that would be a tremendous help for all 911 centers across the state. That $1 increase in 911 surcharge will allow us to continue to compensate our team and, sustain our mandated technology and 911 services and important training for our team. So while I don't have a resolution today, I will be asking for support, and I'll work with Ms. Gumbs and the Legislative Committee on how we can get support behind approval for this increase. And if we were to not receive this increase, there would be an impact to our budget, which I will then have to go back to subscribing agencies for to make up the difference, which includes our county agencies as well. And that's all I have this morning.
Okay, thank you, Director Guthrie. Any questions for KingCom? Okay, we will move on to emergency management.
Good morning. So I just wanted to give you an update on our stats. This is, of course, in the monthly report, but right now we're at just over 11,000 volunteer hours for the year, which puts us on pace for about 13,500, which is about even with last year, which was a record. Currently 200 calls, on pace for about 240, which is about even with last year's 236. So the volunteer group is doing a great job. With that, we had academy graduation earlier this month. We graduated 24 new volunteers. So we're expecting great things from them. And lastly, I've been asked to give the keynote address at the township officials of Kane County dinner next Wednesday. So I'll be talking about emergency management and what we're doing to try to build recovery efforts and all those related things. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Director. Any questions? Okay, Sheriff and Adult Corrections, Under Sheriff Johnson, good morning.
Good morning. Our monthly reports are on file and we have 2 resolutions.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and introduce that first one?
First one is authorization and authorizing a contract with IC Solutions for Kane County Adult Justice Center telephone/video visitation system.
Combs will move.
May I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this resolution?
Williams seconds.
Combs will move.
Scums moves, Mr. Williams seconds. Okay, any comments or questions? Is this a new contract or is this an existing contract already?
I believe this is the existing contract too. Chief, is that to move forward? I know the commander also had stated it's to update also for the newer. Yep. And we can go forward.
This is a new contract.
So it's a new company that we're working with?
Yes,
Okay.
we had an RFP, put it out to bid, and this is the one that we selected from that RFP process.
Okay, wonderful.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, no other comments or questions? May I please have roll call for the resolution?
You have Mr. Gray.
One question.
Oh, Mr. Gripe, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
That's okay. Anybody, the cost for this, was it already in the budget?
On that one, it should have been.
I'm sorry,
It should have been, yes.
should have been, or?
Meaning the
is?
budget, it should have already been allocated in there, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Grape,
Gripe, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, no.
Williams,
Williams, yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes.
Passes with one no.
Okay, and this was a budgeted item. It's going to move on to executive. It doesn't need to go to finance. Okay, next one.
And second resolution, authorizing a grant agreement with the Illinois Law Enforcement Training and Standards Board, otherwise known as ILETSB, for the award of the Officer Recruitment and Retention Grant.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve this resolution?
Linder moves.
Mr. Linder moves.
Gums will second.
Ms. Gums seconds. Okay, can you provide us a little bit more information on this one?
Yes, so we are working on just to make sure that we stay with recruitment and retention. So we are working on different standards. So of course, childcare was one of those big ones that kept especially women in law enforcement from moving forward. So that one also happens to make sure that anybody coming forward for recruitment and retention, we can make sure for our standards that that is something that, hey, if you need childcare, we can actually have maybe a $500 assistance for that. So it's something that ILETSB has stated, whatever you want to make for recruitment and retention work for you, it moves forward for a $1,500 credit or a $500 credit for childcare, and then $1,000 towards making sure that they are recruitment and retention bound here. So if they stay within 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, there's assessments given and provided. So again, we can do recruitment the way that we want and provide a program for them so they are retained within our agency. However, if they leave within a 1.5 to 2 years, they have to repay that amount.
Okay, wonderful. Is this the first time we've received this type of grant?
This is the first time, and this is the first time ILETSB has provided it because we are down so much, and Illinois has recognized recruitment and retention is a huge thing within the state of Illinois.
Wow, great news. Okay, any comments or questions, Mr. Grape?
Comment, question, suggestion, I guess. Great. I think this is great. The taxable catch to the people that get this is that it will be 1099 taxable.
That's correct.
To them. So if we can make contributions to, and I think this is, I could check with Jamie on this, but different one. But we could make employer contributions to a dependent care FSA, which I believe we have in our program. If we make a contribution to dependent care FSA, it is not taxable because it's a pre-tax contribution. The money will go farther because there's no tax being pulled out of it for the user, so to speak. And then the people could access it. That wouldn't preclude you from asking for the money back to the plan. But I think that's something we should definitely do with this because the money will go farther. It won't cause a tax problem to the people. And there's actually possibility for matching through that program as well. That's definitely what we should do to really put the ring on this.
That's a great suggestion. I'm not sure what the grant allows us to do with it, but I think if that's allowable, I think that's a wonderful.
Yeah, and we are working our policies and procedures right now too. So our issuance for not only finance for our CFO and also grant writer, we are working that in. So if we can do basically a meeting together and also the policies to review, Ms. Labrillo, I think is who you're speaking with, we can certainly also implement that to see if that works.
Wonderful. Mr. Roth, you had a comment?
We do offer that FSA feature, and it does save you a lot of money.
It shouldn't be an issue. I'd be glad to follow up with the other Jamie.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just making sure, I'm assuming ILETSB would be fine with that
Yeah,
also based
my
on
guess
that.
is it won't be a problem because
Correct.
they just want, when the money comes in, fine, we gave you the money. Where we put it, how we allocate
Right, the
it
allocation of it. Yep,
is
absolutely.
critical. So, and Jamie's not watching or listening, I guess, so I'll be glad to chat with her.
Perfect.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, may I please have roll call on the resolution?
Gripe,
Gripe, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, and this passes on to executive. Okay, anything else under sheriff?
Nope, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will move on to coroner. Dr. Silva?
Good morning again, Chair. I will give Blair a moment to put up my presentation. Everything is on file, but I do want to make mention of a couple of slides. And one of those is the first one. Thanks for sending me the correct link, Blair. My other one didn't work, so I apologize for the technical difficulties earlier. So I don't see the following slide, but what I would like to point out is that we are pretty much at or above 2024 numbers with about half the staff. And this is dangerous because if I'm not adequately staffed, we have to do some very heavy lifting, and we can be in a situation where someone can get hurt. So we want to make sure that that is well taken care of. My staff is majority women, and we do have moms who work, and I love that the sheriff's office is doing that because childcare is always an issue for some of our moms. Moving forward to the next slide. Okay, and I won't read that to you. Next slide, please. Okay, and I think I belabored all my terminology. We will revisit that. We had 6 cases where we completed autopsies this month. Next slide, please. And this is how we calculate our savings by not completing autopsies. However, I do want to underscore, and I will continue to do so, we never forego an autopsy for the sake of saving money. The importance of doing an autopsy when there is a questionable death cannot be underscored. Next slide, please. Okay, and we've added this information so you know exactly what's going on in your respective areas that are represented. Next slide, please. Again, financials. Next slide. Okay, and so here I'd like to point out the various breakdowns for the deputy caseloads. And so you see at the top, we are having to lend a hand quite a bit because we're so short staffed. We're at about, ideally we would be twice the size that we are right now for a county of the size of Kane with 500,000 in population. Before moving on to our resolution, I do want to let you know about a happy note, about a good thing. And that is that we were successful, the coroner's office was successful in getting Wabansie Community College, and from what I understand, Aurora University, to allow us to put vending machines with Narcan in it. And a big thank you to the King County Public Health Department because they provide us with the machines. But I think it's important to continue to work with each other so that we can make these Narcan, life-saving Narcan available to our community, especially our young people. And I think I've shared stats before. It isn't necessarily the young people that age that are overdosing because I think that they are aware of the implications. They tend to seek out more help. But we want to prevent that from happening. And we're taking a look at which age group, not only which age group, which municipality, male versus female, what constitutes an overdose or somebody who may overdose. There's no predicting, but the more that we know, the more that we can help. Okay, thank you. And so the final thing that I would like to do is I do have a resolution to move some money from the coroner's budget to to allocate some funds for purchase of equipment for the lab. And so this is something that I've spoken to many of you about already. I'm sorry if I wasn't able to reach you. But this is not something that's coming out of the general fund or is costing us more money. It's simply letting the money being borrowed from my fund so that this equipment can be purchased and we will be reimbursed by a grant from Congressman Foster. The only thing I do want to point out is that in one of the slides, it says that the amount for an extended warranty is 0, but actually the amount for an extended warranty is $12,434.50. And that does not affect the overall number. The overall number stays the same.
Coroner Silva, is that in the resolution or just in the, I don't see that in the resolution, so we don't need to make an amendment, do we?
I didn't see it on the resolution. I saw it in the details. But it's fine. I don't believe we have to make it in the resolution because there is not a breakdown in the resolution. The overall amount stays the same, but I did want to clarify that was an error. There does not need to be an amendment, no.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second authorizing funding and purchase of a rapid DNA instrument and database capability for the Kane County Forensics Lab and related budget adjustment?
Linder will move.
Mr. Linder moves.
Gums will second.
Ms. Gums seconds. Okay, any questions? Mr. Gripe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm curious, the extended warranty kind of is interesting. At 12,000, I think is the number you quoted for this.
Yes.
How does it apply? In other words, how long is it good for? What does it cover? Because I'm one, when Best Buy asks me to buy something like that or anybody else, I always say no. But what specifically attracted you about spending 12,000 for this one?
So it does include a year. The purchase does include the initial year. And this is for a purchase of an extended year. And with instrumentation this expensive, board member, we are looking to have some coverage. And so, fixing something for this would be very, very expensive. It's going to be used regularly. So I think I'm with you. I tend not to buy warranties below that for things that are a certain amount. But with something like this, I think it's a good level of insurance. I know Sarah is there. I don't know if you'd like to add anything, Sarah, but that is my train of thought. And again, it's reimbursable through the grant. So it's costing Kane County taxpayers $0. And so I think it's just safe to insure because trust me, something will go wrong.
If I may.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Gripe.
Thank you for the clarification. I don't disagree. Something will probably go wrong, but it'll probably go wrong after 2 years. It might be worth looking into if we can get additional grant money for longer than that. I know if I buy a 5-year warranty on something, it's going to break in year 6. And you're right, this is a very expensive piece of equipment. So I wouldn't expect it to break in year 1 or 2, but it's probably after that. So it might be worth looking into getting something, even with a deductible, so to speak, for that beyond that, because that's probably when it'll break down.
I completely agree. And sometimes what they do is they offer at the end of that warranty, they'll offer another one. I don't have specifics on that, but that is definitely something that we will look into because you're right. Year 3 could be a problem and we do not want to misuse this money. So we will definitely be looking into that. Thank you for the suggestion.
And if Sarah, I don't know if Sarah had anything else to add. Okay.
Can't hear you. Come to the podium, sorry.
And Sarah, you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself to the committee?
Okay, yes, I'm Sarah Ware with the Kane County
Pull the microphone down to you.
Kane County Forensic Lab, Sarah Ware. So yes, we definitely wanted to go ahead and include one additional year warranty in addition to the first year that comes with the purchase of the instrument. But the plan is if are funds available, we would definitely like to extend that for another year, et cetera. So.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Any other questions, comments? Okay, may I please have roll call on this resolution?
Grape,
Gripe, yes.
Gums,
Yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Pepe,
Since this is paid for by grant funds, yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Leonard, or I'm sorry, Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, and this moves on to finance next. Ms. Gums, do you have a comment regarding it?
I do before we move on from the corner. Just a suggestion, if we can coordinate this with all partners on the lab. Dr. Sylvia, if you're there, some of the representatives that are interested in funding these grants have had an interest in coming to see our project in person. So I will get back with you on that, but everybody's here today, so I wanted to touch base with you that we should try to plan that date so they can come and take a physical look at it.
I had the same thought, and I was sorry that I was not there due to this conference, but this is something where it gives an opportunity for the people who are voting on these funds to see what we're doing and that there's actually progress. As slow as it feels, there is a lot of progress and there is a lot of potential to save money. So I agree with you. This is a great time for us to reconvene and look at those dates. I know we were looking at hopefully the first week of November at the latest. I will make myself available to what other schedules are. And I can tell you, for one, I get a little nervous because, I always want things to be further along, but there has been a lot of progress and we are moving forward. So I think they just want an update of what's going on and how their funds are being used. So I think this is a win-win situation. I agree with you.
Thank you, Dr. Sylvan. Just following up, from what I gather from our legislators, they're super excited about our project because it's going to expand through the region. So.
Thank you, Ms. Gums. Okay. Anything else for the coroner? Okay, thank you, Dr. Silva. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
I will. Thank you so much, everybody.
Okay, we will move on to judiciary and courts.
Good morning, Andrea O'Brien. We just have one resolution that I'd like to present.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and introduce that?
The resolution is authorizing receipt of the Child Protection Data Court Grant.
Okay, may I have a motion and a second to discuss and potentially approve the resolution?
Gums will move this.
Ms. Gums moves. May I have a second? Any takers?
Second.
Mr. Linder seconds. Okay, Andrea, go ahead and introduce.
This is a yearly grant that we receive in the amount of $4,150. The state provides it for abuse and neglect, our courtroom to do data analysis and case study on the files that we have there. So this is something we receive annually and it's something that's already budgeted for.
Okay, any questions regarding the resolution? Okay, may I please have roll call?
Grape,
Gripe, yes.
Gums,
Gums, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Pepe,
Pepe, yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Molina.
Molina, yes. Okay, this passes on. Okay,
If I could just
Yes.
say one other thing, I just want to say Jason Mathis, our Deputy Court Administrator, attended several classes. He is now certified as a court manager with the National Center for State Courts. So I just want to openly congratulate him.
congratulations,
And, if you
Jason.
want to say anything or talk about the classes.
I'll have a few words to say to you later about recognizing me for that. So. But I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Great news. Okay,
That's all.
okay, then we will move on to our state's attorney, Ms. Mosser. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Our monthly reports are on file for your review. Just 3 things to advise you about. We did, through the initiative of my office in Kane County, pass a law that now allows police officers, or will in the middle of November anyway, allow police officers to use their discretion in not arresting juveniles involved in domestic violence situations. We think this is very important. You can just look at our JJC stats. Most of the kids there are there for misdemeanor domestic violence or some low-level offense. There's a lot of research behind all of this, but it gives the police officers the job or the ability to divert children to care or to help instead of putting them in our juvenile justice system. So I'm very excited about that. We'll be providing training throughout the entire state of Illinois regarding this to make sure that this is implemented well. Yes, Ms. Gums.
Ms. Combs, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, State's Attorney. Listen, I know perception is reality, so people are going to perceive this potentially a very different way. To be clear, we are not letting violent juveniles get away with domestic battery. I think that needs to be expressed because that will be a perception. And I know
Yes.
that's not the intent of the law. And if you could expand on that.
Absolutely. So most children who are involved in a domestic violence incident in which they're the offender do so because one, it's a one-off. I mean, siblings fight sometimes and they sometimes fight physically. Police have been called in those situations, and under the Illinois Domestic Violence Act now, an arrest is mandated. No kid who's just having a one-off incident like that should be arrested. The other is that there is some sort of family chaos going on in the home, such as alcohol or drug abuse, maybe even other types of physical abuse. Again, the kid is acting out. This should not result in an arrest. The third situation that we have is defensiveness. So maybe a parent is being abused or another child in the home is being abused. This would be then the child being protective of that individual. But again, it is still considered domestic violence. And the last is escalating behavior, which happens because maybe they're learning the power and control and something is happening. In all of these situations, each police officer can use what's called the adolescent domestic battery typology tool to assess the risk level. They're looking at any other prior incidents of violence. They're looking at what's going on in the home. Is there stability? And making the determination whether the facts of the case and the history mandate the safety of the victim would put the kid in custody, instead of just saying the kid has to go in custody because the law dictates it to be. So we are not, if this is something where strangulation is involved, if it's something where it's an attempt murder, those are not kids who are being deflected. This is for that misdemeanor domestic battery where there's probably a shove or something of that nature by the kid to a parent or even to another sibling.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Mosser. Okay.
Veto session is going on right now. I've already been contacted by my lobbyist and the State's Attorneys Association lobbyist about different laws that are going. We're being very proactive about it. I'm going to be down in Springfield at the end of October advocating on behalf of King County in terms of all of this. So I will obviously provide updates for that. And lastly, I'm happy to say that 2 of our interns passed the bar recently. So they're going to be sworn in as new assistant state's attorneys for the office. So I just wanted to put that big congratulations out for that huge accomplishment in doing so. Thank you.
Great news. Thank you, Ms. Mosser. Any questions for our state's attorney? Okay, we will move on to our public defender.
Thank you. Our reports are on file. I just wanted to thank Ms. Mosser for her work on the domestic battery legislation. This is a huge thing for us in with our what we see with our clients. Just to kind of touch on things that she had said, one big area for domestic violence, especially with juveniles, is fights with siblings, which I think we, all of us who have siblings can recognize that. But prior to this, those kids were getting arrested, brought in to court. They had a whole court proceeding. Sometimes they were kept over at the Juvenile Justice Center. And I know Ms. Oss can do a much better job at me at telling you about the statistics and reports of even the harm of 1 day in custody that can do to a child. So this is a really big deal. And I just wanted to thank her for all of her work on that. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Conant. Any questions for our public defender? Okay, we will move on to court services. Ms. Ost, good morning.
Good morning. I also want to thank Jamie for her work on this. This is something that we actually started talking about a couple of years ago. And I'll further her comments by saying, the domestic violence statute was written with the idea of intimate partner violence in mind, but there was no age limit on the arrest for people. So when the police come into a house and there's been 2 people arguing and there's been, a shoving match or whatever, they were arresting the kid as though it was intimate partner violence. It's not. They're a rebellious teenager who just needs to be gotten a hold of. And so from a probation point of view, it's really helpful that they're not being charged like intimate partners and instead just like adolescent, batterers or a young person out of control with their anger issues. It's much easier from a probation point of view to work with that kid. So 100%, it's a great change to the law and very thankful for her work on that. And as long as we're talking about JJC, so something that I found, I don't have any resolutions, but I wanted to let you know this one fact that I found when I was researching the JJC recently. So Kane County has supported juvenile detention directly since 1958. The first youth home was built with 10 beds. Before that, people from the city or the surrounding area would literally drive their kids here and just drop them off in the country, like one would a stray dog. It's weird. And so there's actually still a stone house, a limestone house on Fabian near, it's actually at 757 East Fabian Parkway, that a old farmers couple used to live in that house, and they would accept these kids who were just wandering around like young pregnant teenage girls back in the 30s and 40s and other incorrigible young people, and they would just take them in. And from there, that's how Kane County became involved with juvenile detention and finding places for these kids to go. It's just really interesting history. Having said that, I was not entirely, I'm sincerely am looking for your input on, do we continue to have new contracts with other counties around the state? For example, we've been approached again by a county far downstate, Jefferson County. They would like to partner with us to have us hold their kids. We're also in the middle of negotiating a new medical contract for those young people as well. And so unless you tell me otherwise, we'll proceed with these contracts and establishing those intergovernmental agreements and continue to house young people from around the state. That's all I have.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Ost? Okay, Circuit Clerk Barrero.
Teresa has signed off. I'm
Okay.
Karen Kerwick, Circuit
Right,
Clerk's
okay.
office. We got our reports on file. Nothing to highlight. Congratulations, Jason, on that class. Circuit Clerk Barrero is also taking that class, as well as one of our other managers at the Circuit Clerk's office. So we look forward to them also graduating this next year from that class.
Thank you. Okay, any questions for Circuit Clerk at this time? Okay, we will move on. Any old business committee would like to discuss, Mr. Roth?
It's related to what the chief judge said about the interpreter fee. When he presented that 2 months ago, 3 months ago in the budget, at that time I made a recommendation. That's like an accounts receivable, and there again, I'm not a CPA or whatever, but I said we should have the CFO look at that because that's guaranteed income. We're going to get reimbursed, but we have to spend it first.
Yeah, I think we
And-
both discussed that, and we also
but
mentioned
nothing's
Ms.
happened on
Ost.
that. And, and the same thing now with Miss Oss, where she, about kids from out of our country. We're going to get the money. Otherwise we send them home, right?
Tried to have that revenue reflected in the budget, but the county doesn't do it that way. You look at expenses here and revenue there, and you never reconcile that.
Right.
So like for my department, over 7 million
Right.
is external, and the county only ends up paying just under 5 million.
Right. And see,
So-
the budget isn't a certified document like what we have to file at end of year. It's a working document. And we should use it to identify revenue because that's revenue. And you did an excellent job this year increasing the fees to cover more costs. So it's silly for us to turn a blind eye. I mean, you said $7 million. That's $7 million revenue we're getting back, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to approach or just have consensus from this committee to recommend that the finance director review those types of reimbursements, including the interpreter and Mrs. Ost reimbursements.
Well,
I think we kind of had already had consensus to look at that.
right.
And I think, I'm not sure what else we need, but I'm going to look at Mr. Tepe because he is also on the finance committee. I think he's the only other member other than Mr. Leonard, who's not here, that's on the finance committee. What would we need to do in order to request those two changes made to the budget?
Well, the finance committee has a special meeting scheduled for Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Okay. Mr. Leonard and I are in individual discussions with various people today and prior to Tuesday. We're very sensitive to these issues and we understand them. And I will tell you that we'll have, they will be in consideration and we'll probably have a lot more to say to that on Tuesday. But, there's a lot that's up in the air, so I don't want to create any level of expectation except the fact that we are approaching this in the same manner that the chief judge was referring to, is that we're in this together. Okay. And we want to work together to resolve this and see to it that, you know, we reach some level of agreement. Because if we don't look at it that way, and if we, you know, begin, you know, lobbing grenades over the walls at each other, nobody wins. So we want to work together on this, and that's the approach that we're taking.
Thank you, Mr. Tepe. Yeah, I mean, our committee listens to these budget requests. We don't approve them. That's not part of our code. That's done by the Finance and Budget Committee. So I think we'll take our concerns to that meeting, and I welcome court services and anybody else then to attend that meeting and see what we can do to work together. Mr. Roth and then Ms. O'Brien.
Those are just two examples. I think we need to get creative and look across all other departments, because if they have revenue coming in that is a reimbursement, that's helping the budget. So I think it's penny wise and dollar foolish to say, oh, we can't count that.
So I recommend that you get together with Mr. Leonard and Mr. Tepe, who have been
Okay.
working on this for months and
Okay,
months and
okay.
months.
And I'm
see
willing
what we
to.
can do with that. Ms. O'Brien?
I just wanted to state that we have submitted for the Special Finance Committee meeting, a resolution pertaining to this, the reimbursements allocation to our 2026 budget. So we do plan on attending and speaking on the issue.
Okay, wonderful.
Thank you.
Ms. Gums?
Thank you, Madam Chair Gums. I just wanted to round out to the beginning of our meeting because I think it's fair to say that we shouldn't, everyone's clearly spent a lot of time in their conversations that they've had with us. And I don't know who will listen to this in the future, but I wrote down a few thoughts about the position that the county's in. And no, we don't approve or deny, as you say, Chair, but I think right now it's important for us to acknowledge that some of the things that were discussed, and with all due respect to the chief judge, actually, I don't think everybody does understand how the judiciary works. But by this continued conversation, we are getting educated, and I appreciate that effort. And I think it's extremely important. So I hope that follows through to the other meetings going forward, because we're just a small group of people here. But, you know, I could go on and on. I won't. I'll save that for another time, because there's a lot of stuff that that we just need to do. And I don't get it, frankly. I mean, I guess I would like to say this. In this committee, we talk about all kinds of different crimes and how we solve them and how we prosecute them, how we defend them, how we house them, how we feed them. All of those things matter, but we can't go out and tell a deputy, undersheriff, correct me if I'm wrong, don't arrest this person. Don't bring them into jail. Don't get beat up. Don't steal a car. Don't steal anything at all. I mean, if the war on drugs worked, you know, Nancy would have just said no, that we wouldn't even be here, but that didn't work. We can't just say it and make it so. If that were the case, we wouldn't even have this conversation. So I wish that was the case, but some of these things we just simply don't have control over, and they affect the people in my district, throughout the county, and, you know, educating people on what we need is super important. But we don't have control over those things. Don't get married, by the way. Don't die. All those things are things that happen in the judiciary. So I appreciate the effort in educating everyone about what really happens here in this committee, because it's got a lot of tentacles. And it's important, and you don't have any control over it. So thank you.
Yes, Jason, go ahead.
Just really quick, I just wanted to say something you guys probably don't hear a lot, which is thanks. So the thing I want to thank you for is you funded our departments. We're fully staffed. We're all functioning at a high level right now. We're all functioning together. If you had been in our meeting yesterday, I mean, we get together and talk about things, you know, as departments should. And because Ms. O'Brien brought it up, those classes with the National Center that I took, you're on Zoom with people from all over the country. We have it better here. You just can't believe how much better we have it here than other people have it around this nation. So thanks for that. And if there's any angst or anything involved with the budget that you feel like a pushback from us, it's just because we don't want the bubble to burst on how we're functioning. These departments are rolling. What Rochelle said earlier is probably the scariest thing I've ever heard in one of these committees. Whenever Lisa talks about the JJC, my heart breaks just because of how I feel about that building. So just take that into consideration when we're having these discussions. I mean, they don't come from a place of grenades, like Mr. Tepe said. We just want these departments to function as they should, because we're doing better than a lot of places. I'll put it to you that way. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I guess I'll just add that in the last few years, we've done an enormous amount of work to get our judiciary partners and our public safety partners on par to where we need to be. And a lot of those decisions and work wasn't just for one elected official, one department, because everything that one department does is a domino effect for everybody else. Nobody works alone in this committee. Everybody is attached to everybody else. So when one person makes a decision, it's going to affect every other department. And I just want the county board to understand that. And the other thing is that the decisions that we make, some of them we don't even have a decision on. We're mandated to do things, and we have to do these things. We have to house these individuals. We have to make sure that we're following the law and that we're providing the services that we need to. This is the essential services of the county board, is this committee. And it makes it hard for us because a lot of the decisions that we make as county board members are only to allocate funds to them. But we've made decisions in the last few years that got us to where we're at. And I think we all need to face that. And we have to make hard decisions going forward. I hate the fact that we have to backpedal. I hate the fact that we did not pass that referendum that really could have saved us all and not had this conversation, but that's where we're at. That's the reality that the county board is at today. So thank you all for being here. I hope that you extend grace to this committee and to the county board, because we do have very difficult decisions to make, and they're not decisions that we want to make. I think they're just decisions that are our responsibility at this point. So thank you all. Any other comments? Mr. Williams?
Well, I think you said it pretty well. Nobody wants to cut your budget. That's not what we wanted at all. To give an example, as a practicing attorney, I've dealt with the circuit court's office before Teresa was in charge, before it was funding, where I couldn't talk to anybody. I had an issue, I couldn't get it resolved. That's very difficult to deal with. Don't want to see that happen. So I hope we can find a way to make this work for everybody.
Mr. Gripe?
I agree with Rick, but in deference to all departments, I can't think of anything that the county does in any department that's unnecessary. You know, maybe a little this way or a little that way, but I'm just thinking of, you know, we're not mandated to plow snow off roads, but I think a lot of people would be upset, probably some people killed if we didn't. So to Mr. Williams' point, we need to work. Nobody wants to be in this situation, but we are. And next year it's going to be even worse. So we need to work together even more, like you were saying, to get together and make tough decisions to do the right things. So thank you for being engaged.
Thank you, Mr. Gripe. Anybody else have anything right now? Okay, so I'll entertain consent to place reports on file.
Council so move for unanimous consent to place the reports on file.
Okay, any opposition? No, okay. Mr. Gripe, did you have something else?
That was kind of a new business thing. I didn't know if we'd gone there.
We did new business in the beginning.
Okay, thank you. Any rate, one thing I'd love us to work on is goals. We're supposed to update those annually, so not today, obviously, but maybe we could put that on the agenda for next month to review the goals and come up with goals for 26 or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the problem with the goals is a lot of these are financial constraints. So
Yep.
we can
Yep.
say we want to make sure we fund everybody to the fullest extent, and that's our goal, but that's not a realistic goal.
Yep.
So we need to be realistic with our goals. And I guess maybe everybody can review them and let's be realistic with what we can actually accomplish in 12 months.
And then the other thing, if I may very quickly, there've been some comments recently, and I'm a big police supporter. I'm a chaplain in the sheriff's department. I watch cop videos all the time. I'm just one of those guys. But it really pains me when I see people disrespecting our police officers, whether they're sheriff's deputies, state troopers, anybody. And There's been a comment recently by a governor of a certain state that says he would like to, in the future, if he could, prosecute and arrest ICE agents and border patrol people, which, you know, these guys, they do their job. I know Amy knows this because she helps promote that, but I would love that. Plus the mayor of Aurora has recently said he's laying off 20 police officers there, which we don't control, but it affects the work that the sheriff's department's going to have to do. And he doesn't think they should be focused on taking care of people. They should be focusing on workers. So it's just comments like that. Politicians, we're all some of those, say some stupid stuff, but I'm just very glad that we have a wonderful sheriff's department that does their job. I've been on ride-alongs, they get disrespected, so Chief, thank you. Amy, thank you. And just pass that on, that it's a terribly whatever, it's a tough job. So I just wanted to say that we appreciate you and thank you.
Okay, I'll leave it open. Anybody else have a final comment?
I do.
Ms. Gums? Go
Gums here. I just, I kind of half listened to Mr. Gripe. Sorry, our team called me on the phone. They're working down in Springfield, so I've been answering the phone. Sorry, guys. Obviously, I'm a little bit pro law enforcement. Spent my whole life there. Just saying. Love you, Amy. Love everybody else. I distinctly separate unconstitutional behavior from constitutional behavior. And what I am seeing with my own eyes are ICE agents do unconstitutional things. So I agree with you, Mr. Gripe, that we should not treat law enforcement poorly, but I will not be quiet when they violate the law.
Thank you. Well said, Ms. Gums. Okay, we don't have a need for executive session. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn?
To adjourn.
Mr. Williams moves.
Council second.
Mr. Leonard seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the meeting is adjourned.